Welcome to Discern. I'm Courtney, and I'm thrilled to be joining you today. I've got Miss Janet Denison with us again. Hi, Janet.
Hi, Courtney.
It's good to see you. We've been talking about parenting all week, and today's topic is about discipline. And our article today is an opinion piece from Yahoo Life. Ronnie Cohen-Liederman, an author and educator, says discipline is much more than simply doling out rewards and punishment. It is simply about teaching your children and encouraging them to make good, safe choices. But search the word discipline online and you will find a barrage of do's and don'ts and too many methods to count. Janet, I could read 100 blogs and find a dozen different perspectives and pointers. You started christianparenting.org. I am so looking forward to hearing your wisdom on this issue.
There are a lot of articles on christianparenting.org on this subject because it's huge. Do you spank? Do you not spank? Do you use timeout? Do you not use timeout? Do you build them up or do you tell them the truth? You're not all that in a bag of chips. You are going to get in trouble if you do this. There are so many different ways. And I tell you what, I would rather eat dinner at the table next to the family that believes in a little discipline. And that's just from my perspective what I would say. Discipline is meant to change behavior. Punishment is when they choose to do something they knew was wrong. And I think both are important.
Miss Janet, how do you approach discipline? And what do you see are the most effective approaches for disciplining our kids? There's so many. It's just a wild range of a biblical perspective on the issue. And I love what you said about the difference between punishing and disciplining, but sometimes I can feel like I'm at my wit's end. And what are some strategies that I could use when I'm feeling like I don't know what to do with this kid?
Oh, I know. And if you spare the rod and spoil the child, you can go to jail for that nowadays. So, I mean, it's really hard biblically to know how to discipline a child. It's hard to find those verses. So, how do you teach your kid that you're parenting them carefully? You want them to live a life God's able to bless. So you first of all teach them, I'm going to do my very best to teach you how to live in such a way that God can pour his blessing into your life. I won't do it perfectly, but I'm going to make that my goal. Secondly, when they blow it, you ask yourself, did they choose that knowing it was wrong? Or did they fall into it because of a lack of experience or a lack of knowledge? Two different things. There's grace for when they make mistakes that they fell into. We all do that. And then finally, when you know your child is chosen to go against your will, against God's will, when you know your child has chosen something that was dangerous for them, then that discipline requires a loss of privilege. We ought to teach our kids that the worst thing they can do in their lives is to make choices that cause us not to be able to trust them. I sometimes had people tell me, oh, they're just babies. And I remember smiling and thinking, yeah, I just don't want them to stay babies. Practically speaking, if your child makes a mistake and makes a wrong choice, separate yourself and them from them. Put them in their room and tell them, I don't know what to do right now. I need to pray. I need to look at scripture because I don't know how to parent you right now. And I need to ask God. You've just taught your child why you're going to hand out the discipline. You've taught your child that God is the perfect parent and you aren't. in that moment, you've taught your child you love them enough to help them know God. And you need God. So do they. In everything you do to discipline or punish or raise your child up, the one goal is that they will grow up to be more like Jesus. They will grow up to belong to God and to receive Jesus as their Lord. The rest of it follows a lot better if you keep that in the front. One of the biggest assets you can get from approaching God is to approach God begging for discernment. Grace is one of the most essential ingredients to parenting. We were imperfect. We snuck around and did stuff. Our kids will too. If we just line up all the things we did wrong, aren't we glad our parents never found out? One of the things I would hand you is this. Don't expect your child to be perfect. They will do stuff because you did. All of us got away with what we could get away with. Expect that. And just hopefully they'll do it while they're still under your roof and you can have those discussions.
It's a good reminder to spend time on the front end of thinking about how you want to navigate these moments with your kid instead of being caught up in it and reacting, like you said, and wishing I had taken a pause, wishing that I had handled something different or in a different way.
Some discipline is a lot tougher to hand out than others. There are times when you might have a prodigal in your home. This is a child who rebels against everything that you have raised them up to be. And I've given this reminder away over the years to parents, and that is simply this. If God hands you a prodigal, you want to do your best not to get in between them and God. He stood at the end of the road and watched that child walk off. And it was in the pigsty that child realized what he'd done and came to his senses, as scripture says. Too often, parents want to jump in between the pigsty and their child. And the hardest thing you'll ever do is stand at the end of the road and pray for them. But if your child is going to come to his senses in a pigsty, the pigsty is actually what you want for your child. And so don't jump in to try to protect your kids from consequences that are natural to their choice.
That's so encouraging because the world is cruel. And I think being a soft place for your kid to land and to know that they are going to receive that compassion and that love from you, no matter what, is a good reminder.
Discipline is just another form of love.
Those are helpful guidelines and markers to come back to whenever you are feeling frustrated in your parenting. And I just appreciate the utmost encouragement in seeking our guidance from God and trusting that He will show us how we need to parent each individual child and what they need, because ultimately we love them so much and they're going to be an adult a lot longer than they're going to be a kid. And we want a great adult. Thank you, Janet. I appreciate your wisdom on this tough and divisive parenting issue. And it's always a joy to talk to you. We'll see you next time on Discern.